Hello everybody. So you can hear me. So a very happy new year and welcome to January's 2022 meeting of the Holbridge Parish Council. Face coverings can be removed during the meeting if desired. Please ensure face coverings are in place when moving around the building and when leaving. In the event of a fire, our fire exits are here, and there's one here, and the assembly meeting point is at the far end of the car park where indicated. At this meeting, you're not required to stand when addressing council. I will introduce each agenda item and invite you to speak. To indicate that you'd like to debate on an item, please clearly raise your hand. And when voting on an item, please clearly raise your hand in order to be counted. The first 10 minutes of the meeting is dedicated to members of the public. We will try to answer your questions tonight, if that's possible. However, sometimes this isn't possible, and we'll aim to resolve your questions as soon as possible. So, do we have any questions for the members of the public? Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was going to speak at last month's meeting, but for some reason my camera didn't want to work.
Oh dear.
I'm a spiritual person. Firstly, can we have an update on what's happening with the chapels regarding the roof?
You want me to do that?
Yeah, if you'd like to, Isabel. Yeah.
We're currently waiting for delivery of the slates and for the ridge tiles. The ridge tiles were delayed because there's only one supplier and there was a 24-week wait time. So until they are imminent, then nothing will be happening.
Does that answer your question?
That answers that question. Second question, if I may. Have you got the key for the other side of the chapels? Because at one point you'd only got one key for 2 doors.
I'm not aware of that. Anybody aware of missing key?
It was mentioned at the previous meeting that you hadn't been able to get into one side of the chapels.
We managed to get into the left-hand one coming up from Park Road. The right-hand door lock wouldn't open. I believe somebody was going to speak to the chapels trust.
So we have a key, but it doesn't work.
All right. And now the question I was going to ask last month. It has been, I believe it's the book of Matthew, that when you're buried, the Messiah will come from the east, and when you're buried, you should be laid so you can rise up to meet the Messiah. So it's feet to the west, head to the east, head to the west. But it has been rumoured that there's been an email come out of the clerk's office asking for people to be buried the other way round in Hallgate Cemetery. Can we have confirmation, is that true or false, please? Not the burial side, but the email.
Oh, so you're questioning whether an email's come out of the office asking people to be buried the other way around?
I haven't sent an email.
I sent an email to funeral directors, asked what we agreed.
But the plan is to put headstones back to back, and that's the only thing we've requested.
Well, then there wouldn't be headstones, there'd be footstones, wouldn't there?
The agreement was made at the Open Spaces Committee meeting for the row that we've just started to be back to back with the headstones. So the graves would be facing west in that row. So there is no legal requirement for any graves to be facing east or west or whatever direction. It is not a consecrated cemetery, and the decision was taken to put them back to back so it was easier for people to get to their loved ones' graves without feeling like they were walking over another grave. As a council, we'll always try and accommodate requests from individuals or their loved ones. So in the case that somebody does request to be buried facing east, we'll put them in the appropriate row that is facing east. But, I personally feel that suggesting there is one correct way to be buried is quite disrespectful because everybody does have their own beliefs on this matter. So it should be down to, we'll accommodate their beliefs and their request at the time, but we will not refuse anybody to be buried facing east if they so wish to.
Thank you.
I'm going to, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is not, did the church not bless the cemetery but not consecrate the cemetery because at the time the council didn't want to have the expense of future management, because once it's consecrated, after certain things have to go through the church commission or whatever it is for works to can be conducted. But when a grave is dug, does not the vicar consecrate the grave before the person's buried into it?
There's a fair comment there. I think what we need to do is to, as we've been challenged, is to look into that fully and come back to you after the meeting. Thank you. Any more questions from the public? Thank you. Okay, so we'll now instate standing orders and commence with our first agenda item of the evening, which is item number 2021/2-135, and that's apologies for absence and reasons given.
We've received apologies from councillors Peter Sparks, Evelyn Penny, Peter Howden and Rachel Flood, all for acceptable reasons, and all district and county councillors were invited to this meeting, and I have received apologies from Councillor Peter Coupland and Councillor Alan Beale and Councillor Paul Redgate. My apologies.
Thank you. And do we have a proposer and a seconder? Thank you. That's agreed. So item 136 is the clerk's update.
So, the vacancy on town ward that has been made by the resignation of former councillor Carol Kenyon. We have until the 25th of January before we know if co-option can take place. And for the 6 other vacancies, as item B, we've had no applications. Item C, correspondence received. We've had various emails and phone calls from people who have reported a gentleman living in his car down Barrington Gate, which we passed on to the police. And in response to council's application for the car park in Boston Road to be opened longer hours, we've received an email back from South Holland, which says that with antisocial behaviour on the rise across the county, we have noticed an increase in the amount of litter and broken glass on and around the car park area. They've had to bring the road sweeper in on 2 occasions, and after consulting with their councillors and council officers, it was deemed that opening the car park could invite more antisocial behaviour, so unfortunately they are unable to move forward with this. And that's me finished.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, so item 137 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011, and to consider any requests for dispensations in respect of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in agenda items. Do we have any declarations of interest? Isabel?
Yeah, item 140D.
Yeah. Sophie?
Yeah, non-pecuniary in 140D.
And myself as well, please. 140D.
Yeah, non-pecuniary on item number 150.
Any more? If we arrive at an agenda item and you do have an interest, you can register before we begin. Okay, item 138 is the minutes of the previous meeting, to resolve to approve the notes of the meeting of the 13th of December 2021 as minutes. Has everyone seen those and had a read through? Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Thank you, Sam. Mark, all those in favour? Tim, are you voting with us tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. agreed. Just bear with me a second while I initial all this paperwork. Keep asking your way. I'm getting this bit. There you go.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, everybody. Must be done. Okay, so item 139, police, county and district matters. Item A.
The police have sent in their report. They're currently being hit hard by hair coursers and asking people to use the 999 service if you see active coursing going on, or 101 if you just see people driving around looking suspicious. They've had lots of reports of cold callers targeting our older residents, asking for extortionate fees for insulating lofts, making out that what the resident currently has is a health hazard and asking for thousands of pounds up front. Alongside this, have similar tactics being used by cold callers who inform residents that they qualify for a free boiler. A small proportion of residents will be eligible through various schemes if they are in receipt of benefits and meet other criteria. The scammers use this information to gain the trust of the victim. However, the victim will pay a deposit for the free boiler. The scammer takes the money and the victims do not get a boiler. Simple answer: don't buy from door knockers and don't commit to anything other than, over the phone from cold callers. The police are having a meeting tonight to decide our priority for this quarter. We have had a number of suggestions and they'll let me know when they have an update. And I've had no report from county or district.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to sort of hold things up or anything, but have there any means of passing on this information to the older people? Because it's one thing for the police to tell us what's going on, but the older people don't really know what's going on. How can we help protect our older people from this kind of thing? It's one thing to say, well, don't cold buy from cold call off your doorstep, but equally you get some very convincing hawkers in smart suits driving the BMW who look the part and can be very convincing to people. How can we do more to protect our people? Because we're getting this report, but I'm conscious that the older people out in the community aren't getting this information.
Yeah,
How do we do that?
that's a good point, Tim. I mean, we obviously follow the agenda item, and in that update, the police have said that they're meeting tonight, and that information they usually pass on to Jan. With the use of posters and information, with PR and IT, they can get involved to start get on social media. But the most important thing is we have members of our press team here who sat behind you. They'll get that in the paper and express our concerns to the parish council for the residents. So you've got a really good point there, and it's about us doing all of our jobs by getting out there and doing what we need to do, but with the meets, with the police, with the paper and all the other bits and pieces that we've got. All right. Thank you, Tim. Okay. So moving on to agenda item 140, which is open spaces. And this is, the first bit is to co-opt any interested members to the committee. Anybody here would like to hop onto open spaces who's not already on there? No? That's fine. Okay, with the apologies from the Chair of Open Spaces, Councillor Rachel Flood, I will, as Vice Chair of Open Spaces, do her report for her on the agenda items, starting with A, which is to receive the report from the Chairman. So the maintenance responsibilities of the Bowls Club were discussed in our last committee meeting, and our teams are going to be reducing the hedge height around the area for visibility. And we are going to remove the fence around the former dog run area. That's to open all that out and make it clear to see across, open the spaces out. We're looking into removing the rubbish pile at the Battlesfield allotment. We have written to LCC to request that we take over the licences for the planters on Market Hill. The trimming of the hedge at Holbridge War Memorial has been added to the work schedule. We have a newly adopted play equipment policy. And finally, thanks to our groundkeepers team for the great work in Park Road Cemetery that they've been busy with. I just to thank Rachel for her report. That's the comments. And her item B for open spaces is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the position regarding the beacon area, in that their clerk should write to SHDC and ask if they can contribute to the cost of the upkeep. Now, you've probably all seen the letter in the drive that's to be sent there. The area is owned by district, and for a period of time members of the community have been looking after it. So it was agreed for the letter that's in the drive to be sent to district for contribution. Do we have a proposer and a seconder for the letter to go? Thanks, Tim. And Rick, second. All those in favour? Item agreed. Thank you. To resolve to agree, item C, the community garden project and to send out letters to local growers. So there's a letter in the drive that's been drafted to go out asking for contributions of any kind to local areas of interest to help with the project. Has everyone seen the letter? Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Sam and Rick, our favourites for tonight. All those in favour? Item agreed. Item D is to receive an update regarding the legal work for battlefield allotments and letter received. So in this item it was discussed with regards to the information regarding the trust. We have sent all the information to our solicitors for some legal advice with regards to the situation and how we stand. We are yet to receive a detailed update, as we understand these things do take time, when documentation is elderly and the detail has to be accurate. We don't have a further update as of tonight's meeting, so I propose that we would defer that to the next meeting. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Tim? And Sophie seconding. All those in favour? Okay, so hopefully we'll have that update by the next meeting. Thank you. So item 141 is Planning, Properties, Emergency Planning and Speeding Committee. And the first bit is to co-opt any interested members onto the committee. Anybody here interested in hopping on board? That isn't already on there? No? Okay. So item 8 is to receive the report by Chairman of the Council, Sam Campbell.
Okay, there were no planning applications to comment on. This month the SIG locations are Holbrook, St Mark's, strawberry fields outside the school at Boston Road as well. Following the planning refusal for replacing the windows at Coubro with UPVC, we are in the process of costing wooden windows. I think that's still ongoing, isn't it, John? We're applying for listed building consent for the change of use of the old telephone box. That's so that we can put the DPIP in there that will be donated. There were some concerns raised over the rebuild costs for the renewal insurance. However, following discussions with the broker, the rebuild costs were more than the property value. I think there's a meeting on the 27th with the brokers to try and come to a better agreement. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Item B under planning and properties is to resolve to approve the planning applications which were on the team drive. Do you want to go through them or do you want to just approve them?
No, I can go through them. There's H09130721, which was a proposed extension and alterations. There was 2 comments from councillors, both no objection. H09091621, shed on flat roof, it was a retrospective. There was 1 comment on that one. There was proposed office and workshop with associated external works, plot number 9, and that's H09132321. And that also had some amendments with it the following day on 132321. There was 3 comments from councillors, nothing that was a material consideration, just queries over the fact that these are retrospective and amendments.
Super. So do we have a proposer and a seconder to agree those? Thank you. Mark and Sandra and then seconder. Those in favour? Okay, that's item agreed. Moving on to item 142 is PR and IT committee to co-opt any interested members to the committee is the first bit. Anybody jumping on board there? PR and IT? Tim? No? Okay. So item A is to receive the report by the Chairman, Councillor Peter Howden, and in his absence, I believe Sam's going to deliver. Thank you.
The calendar competition, we've had 6 businesses come back on board and they're quite keen, which is good news. We're intending to put out press releases about what each committee is doing and perhaps a Happy New Year added from good self.
Okay. Yeah.
We're trying to organise a meeting with the UAH, George Farmer, about the setting up of the Youth Council. That we've had to hold fire on a little bit because of the coming back to school and the COVID, but we are on it. We had a really positive response to sending out Christmas cards. I've had really good comments about that we bothered. It was nice, and we're hoping to upscale that next year. We're still waiting for a couple of councillors' bios, so if you haven't sent yours in already, I think everybody's done it now. Please, if you haven't, can you get that done quite quickly? The Saturday surgery went really well, and we're hoping to push that now so that we do that more often, both in town, and we would like to take it out to the outlying villages so that the villages get a chance to come and meet us and talk to us. That's obviously a discussion about who's free and where we could go. Posters are going up around the town and on all the outlying notice boards that we can find to attract new councillors. And the freedom for information requests, we resolved to offer digital searches free of charge and for the first 2 hours. of a manual search free of charge, and then after that the cost will be £25 per hour up to a maximum of £450.
Okay. That's a report. Thank you. So item B is to resolve and agree the recommendation of the committee for the fees for the freedom of information requests. As Sam's just pointed out, some of them can be dealt with pretty swiftly and pretty quickly and triggered straight back out. Some are digital, which are easily accessible. Some are archived, going back decades, which does take an awful lot of time. Most large firms would make a charge because it takes a lot of time and effort to go through to request and get those information. Sam's mentioned the fees that was on the drive. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make, or would we like to just go straight to accept them?
I think just one comment that came out of the discussion on it was that we felt as a committee that most freedom of information requests would be able to be concluded within that 2-hour period. So, we wanted to make it so that as much as we possibly can, it is a free of charge event. However, when you've adhered to, as soon as you go into archives and any real in-depth freedom of information that isn't digital, that's when the potential charge could come. As much as we've tried to do, we've tried to make it as free as possible.
Thank you, Mark. So, do we have a proposer and a seconder? Rick? Mark? All those in favour? Okay, so that's agreed. Tim, did you want to vote or not?
No, I'm kind of thinking why you look at it, £450 is an awful lot of money.
It's a maximum of. So it's £25 per hour if you listen to Sam's report. And then it goes
I
on to-
appreciate the pro-rata thing, it's still a hell of a lot of money.
So you
I've
abstaining?
Abstaining, yeah. Okay, so item 143 is the events committee. First bit is to co-opt any interested members to the events committee. I think there were some people added last time round. Rick, you're interested to hop on as a member? Do you have a proposal for Rick and a second? Are you proposing or are you offering?
No, I'm offering, so I won't.
Yeah, okay, you can comment next time. Yeah, propose Sam, second. Okay, Rick? All those in favour? Okay. Welcome on to events, Rick and Mark. I'd like to join. Our proposer, Sam, seconder, Isabel. All those in favour? Agreed. It's 2 new members for events. Well done. So moving on to item A is to receive a report from the Chairman, Councillor Isabel Hutchinson, please.
I haven't actually got a report for this meeting because we don't meet again until Thursday. At that meeting we will be having more in-depth discussions about the Jubilee, so I'm planning after that meeting to put out a press release with more detail of what we're planning for the Jubilee. So that's as much as I can tell everybody at the moment.
Well, new members on board. We'll watch this space. Thank you. Okay, and item B is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee for the road closure for the Jubilee on Thursday the 2nd of June 2022. Now that map was in the team drive, it showed the road closure. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? Rick, Tim, and all those in favour? Okay, item agreed. Thank you. Right, item 144 is the Finance Committee. And item A is to receive the report from the Chairman, Councillor Stevens.
So, Mr Chairman, this month, in addition to the normal monthly agenda that we do every month, bills, receipts, etc., etc. We've worked quite hard still on the budgets and getting the preset figure correct, which will come along to later. We've had a bit of an issue with the insurance for this year. The premium has gone up quite considerably, which was a shock to all of us. And we're also now very limited to the number of insurance companies that we can use for parish council insurance. We're down to 3 now, I believe, which is a bit worrying, because if there's any more drop out, then I don't know what we're going to do. That's it.
Okay. Right, item B, to resolve to agree the financial statement and payment list. And that's all on your key drives. Everybody happy with that? Proposer and seconder, please. Sam, Isabel, all those in favour? Item agreed. Item C is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee for the additional signatories to the CCLA account and to add the clerk as the trustee. Again, this information is on the team drive and discussed at the finance meeting. Do we have a proposer? Rick, a seconder? Sam, all those in favour? Okay, item agreed. Item D is to resolve to agree the recommendation of the committee, the insurance premium renewal. And there's quite a bit of information in there, in the drive. Do you want to have a look at it? There's some good tweaking there. So do you have a proposer and a seconder? Yep. Good choice there. I'll go for Mark, I think he was the quickest. All those in favour? Item agreed. Okay, so item 145 is to resolve to agree the budget for 2022-23 and for the chairman to sign the precept application. So there was a lot of data and a lot of hard work that's been going on months with regard to the finance team, so thank you very much for that and everybody's input. Did everybody have a chance to go through and look at each section? Each section, as I can see, was approved at the last committee meeting of each committee. So therefore, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's already been agreed in committees. So as a full council now, we have to stand by that budget. Do you have a proposer? Rick, a seconder? Mark up there first. All those in favour? That's agreed. Okay, item 146 is to discuss and resolve to agree projects for the Welcome Back funding. Is this you? Off you go, Sophie.
Okay, some of you may remember a few meetings ago now, we did agree some projects put forward for the Welcome Back funding when we first requested that district. I've been working with Nick Worth and some people from South London District Council to push forward our ideas that we put forward. One was some planters down the high street. Unfortunately, Highways assessed the feasibility of it and it wasn't positive. So that idea won't be able to get moved forward before the deadline that they need to procure by, which is March. The other idea that we put forward, which we originally agreed to do as PR and IT committee, was a digital notice board in the High Street, with the idea that we would put a calendar of events on there, which has been highly requested by the public. So there is one spot where everything is collated, and also to look to improve the town map and integrate with business advertising and things to get that involved. So that I have given quotes to District 4 and I'm working just to finalise that, so hopefully it should be pushed through fairly soon. But it is quite a large budget available and they have still got money available, so We've been asked again if there's any other ideas we've got for funding that hasn't already been discussed.
Okay. The committee for the bounce back, has that steering group met recently?
No, the
Was that
Town
finished?
Improvement Steering Group, the last time we met was November, I think. So it's quite a while ago. So the ideas that were brought up in there have gone through the process, either they're feasible or not. So it is really, they've got a deadline of March when they've got to spend the money by. There's still money left. So if you've got any ideas,
Yeah,
we need to get on there quickly.
As I was getting to, there's a great opportunity here if we all put our thinking caps on and get any ideas to Sophie with regards to, so this digital notice board's going to be quite a high impact, quite modern. There's other things they've done around town, like they did the bus shelter opposite the car many moons ago, I think, to improve the look. So anything we can come up with, this is the time to start.
How much?
Overall, it was £86,000 roughly. Don't quote me on that, but roughly that amount that South Holland District Council has been awarded by the government. They work on a scheme where they procure, so anything below £2,000 they just need one quotation for. Anything over £2,000 you need 3 quotations for, and then they claim the money back. But that is for the whole of the district, obviously. Some of the money has already been spent on various events and things that have been going on.
Could we think about another notice board for the other end of town? Because, you know, I don't like the idea of the modern notice board.
Yeah.
But up near that bus shelter at the co-op end of town, something like that would fit in.
Could we not move the existing one up there?
Yes, please.
We can move the existing one. It is a bit rickety, and we've had a few incidents when we've been trying to put notices in there with the wind.
Yeah. I think the digital notice board, I know it's an expense, but actually next to the modern bus shelter, near that car park,
Would be a good prominent
would
position for
probably be
another
a
one.
prominent position for it to be in.
Side of car wall would be good as well.
If I could just remind everybody, we are Holwich Parish and we've got an awful lot of villages out there.
It
Should we
has
show this money out to them?
no, it has to benefit the town centre.
Oh,
Welcome
yeah.
back to the
So
centre.
it's meant to be welcoming people back to the town centre for COVID. So anything, it has to be temporary as well, as long as it's movable. And, notice boards are fine. But yeah, anything that benefits the town centre, businesses, they're doing quite a lot of work with to try and encourage them to develop after COVID. So whatever we can do within that remit.
Park benches?
Where would they be located?
You could put another one where the notice board is now. There's only one there, isn't there?
Where the current notice board is on Market Hill.
Yeah. And then perhaps put another one up near the co-op somewhere.
But how does that bounce back? How is that assisting in developing?
Well, it's giving people a chance to sit down while the
Yeah,
shop's
fit
on the
into
street.
the town.
I mean, one thing that we did bring up at the steering group meeting was more benches within the town, so people can, rest as they're walking along. Especially the elderly have requested that quite a lot, because it is a long walk through town if you're trying to do it all in one stint.
I think it's quite, I'll come back to you in a second, quite valuable at this stage that we have just agreed with budgets and things, and there's money to be spent from pots up, as Sophie's quite rightly explained. I want to just take this opportunity to let everybody know, and obviously with the press being here, to report the actual precept increase, and then you can sort of gauge the figures a bit better.
So the precept that council are applying for 22-23 is £244,340.57, which equates to an increase of 50p a month for a Band D property. So,
Okay, thank you. Just a food for thought, because obviously with other grant funding and getting hold of money and doing all these things, and you mentioned the villages, I do get your point, it covers a wide expanse, of parish
Well, I just want to become too town focused when we are a parish.
Yeah. Well, again, if you want to lobby SHDC, because they're the ones that say where the money has to be spent, you know, it's not our money. If it was parish money, then obviously we'd have a freer arm. There's a lot of research and energy goes into these steering groups, and maybe it might be interesting if you sit in one of them and you can see where they're coming from. That focuses on Holbeach, and I do get your drift. You know, we've got some wonderful hamlets and villages and droves and things that we all represent. I absolutely get your point.
Well, it's not a situation where the Keysborough villages are being very Holbeach-centric. That's going to be one of the issues we need to address really over time.
I think the other thing to remember is, of course, boundary neighbours also have their own parish councils, like Watload, etc. So although we're all in South Holland is a vast area, and we have to remember when we set a Holbeach Parish Council, that includes our growth. Good point. Mark, you have a comment?
Yeah, it was just in relation to the funding. Obviously, I don't know whether it's worth looking into something similar to a bike rack. Not, you know, that's not a nice green one, but something that's a little bit more user friendly in relation to, we've got quite a wide pavement outside the church, so I don't know whether something smaller could fit there. I'm just thinking of, from a pedestrian point of view, if people go uptown and they're going to somewhere like QD, they very often need to lean their bikes up against the shop. So I'm just thinking that from both a business and a pedestrian point of view, it might be worth looking into.
As a business owner, I would second that, because
There's something to
bikes
throw in the
slammed
pot.
against the window.
Get these ideas coming to Sophie and she'll
Yeah.
help with them and help research some bike racks. Was a bit of a talking point when they just appeared, but when they're actually functional. And thinking outside the old library, you have those drop-in.
Yeah.
We're obviously losing those with the library going, so that location would be good. But get all these ideas, please, through to Sophie and start working on those, and she can help you with the procurement process if required, and get that to district to try and grab that money. Sam?
Can I just mention to Tim as well that as PR and IT we have made a concerted effort to make sure that we're taking the council out to the droves and the villages. That's why we started.
Oh, Sandy, that's the thing.
Yes, because I've worked hard on trying to get it
I was
right.
intended to.
No, we are making a concerted effort to make sure that we get out into the villages to be as open and as transparent as we can be.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so the item 146 was to discuss and resolve to agree projects for the welcome back funding. We've heard about the digital display. Has that already been agreed?
Yeah, that's all we've done.
So what we're saying is get these ideas to Sophie.
So I think we're going to do notice boards, benches, bike rack at the moment.
Yeah.
But any more, just let me know.
Okay. So do
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Just 1 minute. With you saying it's only temporary,
Yeah.
could we not ask them to provide some flowers for?
Yeah.
Because they're only temporary, aren't they?
I did ask them about providing flowers for Market Hill, as we are looking to take that area over. They haven't come back to me on that, so I'll
Okay.
get some.
Just a wild thought. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to move the agenda on, do we have a proposer and a second on those items? To declare as the screen, the bike rack and the benches, and possibly flowers. So who would propose? Tim, yeah. All those in favour? Okay, item agreed, thank you. Okay, so here we have to resolve to exclude the press and the public under the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960 due to confidential nature of the business to be transacted for agenda items 2021-2-147, 148, 149 and 150. Yeah. Do we have a proposer? Okay, and a second, so Isabel and Rick, and all those in favour? Are you voting to them or not?
Excluding the press, is there a specific reason as to...
As I just read,
You want to mention names of the business?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so you know more about transparency?
we all are.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
we
sure.
all are.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we now just need to do a minute to reorder and add those to the items to the end of the meeting. Do we have a proposal to reorder the agenda? Isabel, Sophie second. All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to go to item 151, which is agenda items and requests. If you haven't got any at the moment, or if you have, you can shout them out. If not, you can make sure they get to jump by deadline. Any agenda item requests at the moment? Okay. So Jan will send out an email and make sure that they get to her in good time. And item 152 is to confirm the date and the venue of the next Parish Council meeting. So the next Parish Council meeting date is the 14th of February 2022 at 1900 hours at the Methodist Hall, Old Street, which is here on Valentine's Day. Okay, so that's meeting finished. Thank you.